Hello and welcome to my next SketchUp lesson at mrstewartslessons.com. Today we're going to make a new building and we're going to start from a blueprint. So I'm going to show you how to use a blueprint to actually make a building. So the first thing we want to do is we want to import. The blueprint should be a file, JPEG or GIF file that we can import. So I'm going to import this file. The file I'm going to import you can find on my website right under the video at mrstewartslessons.com under this lesson. So I'm going to click File and I'm going to click Import. I want to make sure that I click Use as Image, not Use as Texture or Use as New Matched Photo. The particular image we're looking for is brownstone floor plan floor 1.jpg. Again, if you go to my website, mrstewartslessons.com, right under this lesson, you can find this image and the other two images associated, which is brownstone floor 2 and brownstone floor 3. So I'm going to open this file, and it's going to appear here. We want it to go, make sure it's flat along the ground. We can start from the origin, so I'll click right here. But it's not the right size right now. So we want to make it the right size. So what I want it to be, so I'll click on one corner and then I want for height, this blueprint, if you look at the actual image, is marked as being 51 feet 9 inches long. So I'm going to put in those measurements. So I'll put in 52 feet as a measurement. It's for some reason it doesn't, you can't put in the exact measurements of the blueprint, so I'll just put in 52 feet. It only accepts measurements in feet. So now I'm looking at the top of the building. What I want to do is I want to draw the walls, and what I'd really like to do is to draw around the outside of the, all the way around the outside of the walls. So I'll go from a high up perspective. I'll try and start right here, and I'm going to trace along the outside part of the walls. And we might have to fix that later. Now we're going to ignore the doors. We're going to draw right over the doors and the windows. So don't worry about the doors and windows. Occasionally I might need to scoot in if I want to get a better perspective. Notice how we're on the outside of the walls here. Until we get back to the start. Now we have the floor of our building. Now the unfortunate part of having the floor of our building is that we can't actually see the blueprint anymore. So what I might have to do is I might want to make it visible. And so to do that, well, but first what I want you to import the file, as I did, and trace around the edges before you do anything else. Import the file and trace around the edges. Now, if you may find that it's not over a certain part, you can always use the move tool. Click on it and say move that part out a little bit if you want it to go, if it's not covering something it's supposed to cover, you can just move it out so it covers up the part it wants to cover. So if you haven't yet, pause it, import the file, and draw around the edges. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to be able to still see the blueprint. So I'm going to go to the View menu option, and I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to go to Face Style. I'm going to put Xray. This will allow us to see through the floor, but it'll still be there. So you'll see the floor is there, but it's sort of transparent. That allows us to actually see our blueprint so we can draw in the walls on the inside. So I want you to click View, go to Face Style, and click X-Ray. Okay, so you should now have a view of the, you should now have an X-ray view of the floor. Now, what we need to do, we want our walls to actually have a thickness to them, which is something we haven't really done because mostly we've been focusing on the exterior of a house. So we want our walls to actually have a thickness to them. And we can do that pretty easily using our offset tool. So I'm going to select my offset tool right here. And I'll click on here, okay. We want our walls to be 6 inches thick. So I'll click in here and I'll start to drag in, and as you already know to do, I'm going to put our measure of 6 inches of thickness, and there is the outside walls of our building. So I want you to select the offset tool and use the mark 6 inches of thickness, and then come back. Okay, so now we should have our exterior walls. So now what we need to do is we need to start drawing in the walls on the inside of the house. And we can do that fairly easily using our rectangle tool. Okay? And we can try and get a uniform thickness by using precise measurements. So what I want to do, so let's say I want to put in this wall. I'm going to come here and I'm going to come down and find how long it is, right? Now, so this is about 8.5 feet long. So what I'm going to do, you'll notice that it's, so if you notice here, I haven't drawn any width, right? So you see the dimensions down here? If you look down in the dimensions box, it's 0 feet and 6 feet 9. We'll say about 6 feet 9 inches. We don't need to be too precise. Well, I want the width to be, I want the width here to be 6 inches because it's you notice it's a thicker wall. The thicker walls will be 6 inches. Those are the supporting walls. The less thick walls will be 3 inches. So I'll say 6 inches, and then we'll say 6 feet 9 inches. 6 inches, comma, 6 feet 9 inches. And the 6 feet 9 inches I got from actually measuring the wall. Now, you'll notice it expanded in the wrong direction. So what I can do is I can just select this, and then I'll just move it over a little bit. There we go. So it's on top of that wall. Now, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to pause it, and I want you to draw in the wall as a rectangle, and you'll find the measure just by dragging it out to find how long it is. So pause it and do that now. Okay, so if you did it correctly, your wall should just cover this part of the wall. Now what we want to do is we're going to want our walls to all come together into one thing. So I'm going to click my eraser. I'm going to click this line so the wall becomes part of the other line. So I'm going to erase the line separating that out. So I want you to pause it and do the same thing now. Click on it and click on the eraser and erase the line in between there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm noticing right now that this particular wall is not quite in the place that I want it. If that ever happens, you can just move the lines for the walls. So I'll click here, I'll click the move, and I can actually select both of them, and I'll click the move, and I'll just move them in a little bit. There we go. So if any of your walls turn out to be not in the right place, you could pause it and fix that right now. Okay, so now I have a wall right here. Okay, so I'm going to draw in this wall. You notice this wall is narrower. This is a 3-inch wall, so we're going to use width of 3 inches. So I'll click my rectangle. I'll start right here. I'll come down, okay, and this particular wall, we have, looks like about 6 feet 2 inches. If you look down in the dimension box, we can round everything to the nearest inch to make our life easier. And we're going to give it a width of 3 inches. So you notice the smaller part, which is the width of the wall, comes first, and then the other part, the longer part, comes second. So I'm going to match that. I'm going to type 3 inches, and then I'll type 6 feet 2 inches. And now our wall is covering this part up. Looks like the 6 feet 2 inches is a little long, so I'll change it. I'll make it 3 inches and 6 feet 1 inches. You might have to play with your measurements a little bit just to make them work. Okay, and actually it's still a little bit long, so maybe I'll make it 3 inches and 6 feet. There it goes. Now it fits perfectly. Okay, once again, so I want you to select your rectangle, and I want you to draw this wall here. So it should be about 6 feet long, and 3 inches wide, 6 feet long. Okay, and once again, I'm going to click my eraser, and I will erase that particular line. Now, I'm just going to fill in the rest of the walls here, and then you can go ahead and do the same thing now that you see my procedure. So I'm just going to go and pause it and do everything, and then we'll come back when all our walls are filled in. So, and I want you to do the same thing. I've gone and I've drawn in almost all my walls with the rectangle tool, and you notice the important part is every place where the rectangle tool created an extra line in between, I erased that line to separate it, and I want to make sure that I catch all the parts. For example, here's a part where I forgot to erase the line, so I'm going to erase that line right now. So I'm going to go through and make sure that I get all the parts connected. I'm going to erase all the lines separating all the parts. You'll also notice I went over all the doors. We're just ignoring the doors for now, right? We're just going right over them, so we don't need to pay any attention to those. I left this part here because this is a little bit tricky, just so you can see how I did this. The easiest way by far probably is to draw in all of the parts that are rectangular and then draw in the slanty parts afterwards. So now you see I've drawn all the rectangular parts. To draw the slanty parts, I'll just connect them with the rectangles with the pencil, and that'll take care of the slanty parts there. So that takes care of that. And it looks like if something doesn't look quite right, like this part doesn't look quite right, I might need to move a rectangular part a little bit up. So maybe I'll move this part up a little bit. That looks a little bit better. Good, so that those parts are parallel. Okay. So, and I will, once again, I'm going to go and, so if you haven't done this part, pause it and go and fill this part in. And if you haven't done it yet, you should pause it and draw rectangles over all the walls in your house and erase the parts in between. Erase all the connecting lines so that it's all one giant shape. So pause it and do that now. And if you haven't, pause it and just make sure you haven't left any extra lines in between there, because if you have, it's not going, the next step isn't going to work. Okay, so now we're done with this part. Oh, looks like I missed a couple parts here. I missed these are supporting walls, so we should definitely put those in. They're important. So I'm going to put these parts in. If I put the supporting walls in on the inside, and also the outside aren't so important, but put the supporting walls in on the inside and on the outside. Notice once again, I'm going to make all the erase all the connecting lines between things. Now, our walls, our blueprints say that our walls should be, we have another blueprint from the front, which you can also download, to say that our walls on this level should be 7 feet 6 inches high. So now that everything is all connected and it's all one part, I can very easily pull this part up 7 feet 6 inches high. Oh, and it looks like I made a mistake here. You may have made, before I do this, you may have made a similar mistake. This part should really be connected because we actually want the doors, we want to go all the way around the door. So I'm going to just draw another rectangle here and connect these because that was a mistake. And I'll erase all the lines in between. So if you have any doors that you didn't connect, just go ahead and connect those doors right now. Okay, so now I'm going to use my push-pull tool. I'm just going to pull up all my walls, and if they're all connected, they should just all come straight up, and they're going to be 7 feet 6 inches high because that's how tall this level of the building is. So I'm going to click on my push-pull tool. You'll notice if I did it right, then the only part that should be selected is the walls themselves. I'll click and I'll start to pull it up, and I'll type in 7 feet 6 inches, and now we have our walls. So I want you to pause it and use the push-pull tool and pull up your walls now. And if you notice that part of them are not getting selected or not getting pulled up, it's probably because you did not erase some of the lines connecting the rectangles. So you have to go back and erase those and then pull it up. So pause it and pull up your walls now. Okay, so now we have our walls of our building are pulled straight up. We're going to want to put in a shortcut to putting in a roof is to just draw a diagonal line across all of your spaces. You'll notice that not all of the parts got filled in. That's because I need to draw a diagonal line across these parts too to fill all those parts in. And now I have a ceiling over the whole thing, and we have the diagonal lines we don't really need anymore, so I can go back and erase them. Careful not to erase the actual surface, but to erase the ceiling. If you want to see if your ceiling actually covers the whole thing, you can go to View, you can go to Face Style and turn the X-ray off, and then you'll see that it covers up the whole thing. So I'm going to erase all of my diagonal lines only. Careful not to erase the wrong line there. I don't want to erase any of the other lines because that's going to get rid of the walls inside the house, which is not what we want to do at all. And this is the first floor of our brownstone, which currently doesn't have any windows or doors. When you come up back at the next lesson, I'll show you how to add windows and doors to the brownstone. The roof.